Welcome back to Workshop Friend and part 7 of making a radius turning tool for the lathe. Now, yesterday afternoon I faced something of a dilemma because I had said to myself that this would be the last installment in this series, but I could see that that just wasn't feasible. But thanks to your responses to that small poll, I've been encouraged to break this into 2 videos, so we'll in fact complete this next time. So just a quick recap on what the tool is. It's a radius turning tool designed for small lathes like the Myford with a very low profile to get adequate space in here for turning reasonable diameter balls. Now, there's no reason why with a raising block it can't be used on a larger lathe like this. Now, in the interest of saving time, I've done some of this video offline. And by the end of this video, I hope to complete the tool holder. And the whole reason that this project has taken longer than originally anticipated is because I've added the feature of the tangential turning tool holder. And that should enable me to get into tight spaces up against a shoulder, also to turn internal radii as well as balls. So I think that's a worthwhile feature. By the end of today's video, we should have the tool holder finished, and that will leave work on the base to install the tool holder and finally to test the tool on the lathe. So this is the tool clamp, almost complete. Now I tested the clamping efficiency. So these are not the actual M4 screws I'm going to use. I still have those on order, but these will do to prove the point that with these proportions the clamping efficiency is a little bit well, inadequate, I would say. For the amount of force that's required on the screws, I would say there's not quite adequate clamping force on the tool bit. So I tested this by holding the tool bit in the vise, clamping these up with reasonable force. It does clamp it, but it could do with being a little easier on the screw threads. So what I'm going to do is increase the chamfer on this side here to make that wall thickness slightly smaller. I can't really touch this side here because that will affect the dimensions, the positioning of the tool holder, but I can make that chamfer a bit bigger. And let me see, I'll probably aim for about 20% reduction in that material thickness there. So the current wall thickness is about 75 thou. So we'll take about 15 thou off that. I've removed 15 thou or 0.38 of a millimeter from that corner, so it's just made it slimmer. That was about 20% reduction, and that makes quite a big difference in the springiness of this clamp. So just to demonstrate, so now with just a light nip like that, I've just held this in the vise and rotated this, and it is tightening adequately. So I think that's one of those things you can only discover by trial and error. So I'm going to update the drawing to show that deeper chamfer in there. The base plate has a 1/4 inch diameter hole here in front of the angle block, and the reason for that is to provide clearance for the cutter so that it can pass through the base plate, and that gives the option for a slightly longer cutter. So I've got the dimensions there, and I'm going to scribe on the center line before taking this over to the drill for drilling out that hole. just regram the point on my automatic center punch. The next challenge is to weld this into the holder, and so I've been thinking about this, again hesitating because quite a lot of work has gone into making this little clamp, and I don't want to mess things up. There's a danger now of messing up both this and the rest of the assembly that's been made so far. So I'm thankful to one of my contributors, David from Fatty's Workshop, and he posted this morning on video number 6 suggesting that I use a plug weld. So you drill through ideally into both components and then weld from the rear, and that will make a nice neat weld. Well, I've been thinking about that, and I reckon that might be possible here. So I need to now join this in that way. I mean, it's of course at an angle, and what I'm thinking of doing is coming halfway up this tapered section here and welding in from the rear. So I've set the body up, the holder, on the milling machine, and I'm just milling out a space there for getting access to drill through. I'm a bit nervous about this. I think there's plenty that can go wrong. Okay, quick look at where we've got to. So the clearance hole just gives that extra material length that you can have in the cutter, and that provides adequate clearance. And we've got now this hole through the side here into the corner. I've deburred everything, and the aim now is to weld plug into that hole. My only concern is that too deep? I'm not sure, to be honest with you. So yeah, that's the aim. And then we've got this slight opening here, so hopefully I'll be able to see whether the weld has penetrated. And if necessary, I've got the option just to provide a tack there in that corner. So the aim really is just to rely on this one weld and possibly a tack here to hold this in place. Now, in addition, I'm going to clamp this up. So I've got an engineer's clamp here. I've figured out it can clamp across here, and I'm going to put this in the split there so that under the influence of heat and welding, that doesn't close up. This is all clamped up, hopefully ready for welding down that hole. The advantage of this setup is that I can see that we've got that mated up against this edge here, so I know that I've got my 7 degrees in that direction, and likewise I've got 7 degrees there as well, because I can see that edge too. So the other important point for making this sure this is seated is the corner abuts on this plate, and you may not be able to see that, but I've checked that. Got the packing in here just to make sure that it's not squashed. Cleaned it all up. Hopefully we can go ahead and weld up this hole. So I've changed back to 1mm or 40 thou wire, and I'm going to go for about 90 amps and get enough extension to go to the bottom of the hole, and take extra special care to position myself well, give that a blast and see what happens. So this is as it's come out after a bit of tidying up, including just remachining that surface there where the plug weld was. Now the beauty of this weld into that corner is that it hasn't affected the clamping action. There was a danger that had I welded along here, which was actually my original plan, it may have distorted this by moving it upwards, but also made that stiffer, and I didn't want to affect that. So that's completely got around that problem. I actually added a weld on the inside here, a fillet, which you can see there. Again, that won't affect the springiness of this. Now, Richard Bradley in the comment section of video number 6 suggested that silver soldering would have been a preferable way of assembling this, and I totally agree with him. Had I still available to me my oxypropane setup, which I used to have, I would have gone that route. But anyway, this has worked, and I'm very happy with the outcome. I'm gradually getting some experience with the welding, and this all helps. Inevitably, there's been some distortion. It's bowed that way, and that is not quite as serious as it seems, because that's going to be cut off, and that's excess material. So the effect of the bow is not as serious as it might seem. Nevertheless, I'm going to remove that, and I'm doing that by bluing and filing. So I'm just using my shaper table, and it shows up the high spots, and I'll file those down. The assembly is now in the mill for cutting the approximately 45-degree angle on the bottom of the tool holder. The reason for doing that is that we need clearance coming in from this angle to cut the dovetail, which is 60 degrees. So I'm just carefully milling that out, and then we'll set it up again for cutting the dovetail. Now, I've taken a few measurements, and it requires some adjustment, but I'll talk about that later. So I set this up on the larger angle plate because I didn't have enough room for the clamps, and I've trammed it in this way so it's square with the axis of the machine, and I've also trammed in this top surface so that's parallel. And referring to my CAD drawing, I need to take 20 thousandths of an inch off the top surface and then put a 60-degree angle in for the dovetail, leaving a land of 20 thousandths of an inch, and that will be that side done. And I should now have enough clearance to get the end mill into that space. And that's not just for the end mill, it's also for the screws which will hold the clamping plate in place. I ran into a problem, and that was due to a hard spot here somewhere where the welding took place, and it pushed the material away, and you can see that that land there is not parallel. So I was taking the edge off my high-speed steel end mill, And so I put a carbide end mill in, and I've re-trammed this, but I've also put a piece of stock underneath here to push up on the underside, just to resist any downward force. So what we'll do is hopefully we'll finish this off with the tungsten carbide end mill. The surface finish won't be as good, but at least I know it'll be parallel. I made some small adjustments to the width of the dovetail to ensure that the tool is on the center line of the table, and now I'm machining the other side of the dovetail. Off camera, I've removed this land that's no longer required. That was the land that was used to hold the angle block up against the edge for welding. So I've just milled that off. The next thing to do is to rough out the angle here, which is necessary for the clearance when you're turning larger diameter balls, say 1.5 inch diameter. You need clearance on the front face here. So that will actually be done in situ in the lathe, but to make that task easier I'm going to rough it out, and I need to cut a 54-degree angle across here just to remove most of the material. So I've cut the base of the tool holder to approximate length. Those two ends will be radiused like this, but that will be done on the table when the whole thing's mounted. And as I've already mentioned, the radius in here to clear the larger diameter balls and ball turning, that will need to be machined in situ too. Well, that concludes part 7 of making this radius turning tool. Next video will be the final installment, where we finish the base and test the tool in its various configurations. I do hope you'll join me for that.